In the last video, we took a look at the M Recorder and why this is a great tool for content creators, because it allows you to record the outputs of your DAW as a WAV file, so you can then use that WAV file to sync to your screen captured video from OBS in post using something like Premiere or DaVinci Resolve. However, this plugin didn't let you stream, which was one of the downsides to it. But I'm glad I did this video because a gentleman named Philip Tricky left a comment on there, and the information that he has bestowed upon us all is the holy grail of free plugins for this thing, and I don't think we'll ever need to worry about setting this stuff up ever again. So Philip, thank you very much for pointing this out to all of us. I'm going to put a link to his YouTube in the description. Go send him a thumbs up on his video and subscribe to him as a thank you, because this is going to save us all a hell of a lot of time. Now, in order to get this plugin, you'll need to head over to Reaper's website, which I'll leave a link in the description below, and download the free effects suite that they've provided, which also contains Restream. Now, Restream essentially creates a standalone audio output, which you can then connect to from within OBS. And because it works as a plugin, you literally take this plugin, you put it on the last insert of your stereo output or the last insert of your control room inserts, and you set it up like this. So at the top here we have an identifier, and we can call this whatever we want. We could call it Cubase, we could call it, if we're doing this from Pro Tools, we could call it Pro Tools, or whatever we've got this plugin inserted on. You can create multiple streams and give it an identifier name. And when this is enabled, when we go to connect this in OBS, we just type in the name, and OBS, the restream that we load in OBS will connect to the restream of Cubase. So we can use identifiers to connect to the individual streams, which is brilliant. Now, because we're sending the output out of Cubase into OBS, we need to make sure send audio / MIDI IP is checked, and then the local broadcast or broadcast, I haven't tried normal broadcast, I've used local broadcast, is connected. Now, I believe you can send up to surround sound out, because we have an option here to adjust the amount of channels. Don't quote me on that, because I'm not entirely sure, I haven't tried it yet, but we can definitely send stereo output out of this plugin. And then all we do is inside of our OBS studio, we create an audio track, and then on the filters, we simply just add this as a plugin, okay? But on the plugin, you type in the identifier that you want to connect to. So for this instance, I want it to connect to our DAW identifier from Cubase, and then select receive audio / MIDI, and that means the two plugins are now connected together. So one's sending the audio and this one's receiving the audio into OBS. Then all we do is hit play. It's as simple as that, and it's connected. So here you can see the audio's going out, and then here you can see the audio is coming into OBS, which is an absolute blessing. Now, a little tip for using this plugin inside of OBS is that when you're recording or capturing, if you want the DAW's audio to be recorded as a separate WAV file to the audio of your voice, if you're using a USB microphone, then you need to set things up a little bit. So if you go to your advanced audio properties, just make sure that your DAW is using a separate track to what your microphone is. So on this, I've got my DAW as track 1, which is in stereo because I haven't checked mono, and then the Zoom H6 is what I'm using for my voice. I've got this checked as a mono to sum it to mono, and then put this on track 2. And then inside of the settings, I won't be able to show you because we're actually recording this as I'm doing it. If you go to your outputs, go to recording, make sure audio tracks 1 and 2 are selected. You can do this with up to 6 tracks, by the way. And make sure that you have on the audio track here the number of channels you're using. So we're using 2, that's selected, and you'll be fine. So when you record your videos, the audio for the DAW and your vocal will be 2 separate WAV files which are connected to the video, so you can process them independently from one another, which makes life so much easier. Now, a little tip for when you're using this plugin, in order to avoid clipping it, you need to make sure that you're on top of your gain staging. I have done a video on this, which I'll have pop up or have as a link so you can check it out. But essentially, when you hit play, all the tracks that are summed to the master output are going to cause clipping because the overall cumulative volume is going to be quite loud. So what people tend to do is they tend to turn the fader down because in the digital realm you have infinite headroom. But the problem with this is if your plugins are on post fader, you know, the inserts, is that when you turn the fader down, it's only turning down the volume of everything after they've gone through the plugins. Or if you don't have any plugins on it all, you know, when you do put a plugin on, those plugins are going to be receiving an extremely hot signal, which means they're not going to be probably working as they should be because they're going to be overcooked, especially if it's any analog emulation stuff. So what you want to do is make sure your plugins are turned off, and when you hit play, use the trim function, the pre-gain trim function in Cubase, which is under racks, pre-filters, gain and phase, and just turn it down so that when you hit play, you've got plenty of headroom. If you want to be precise about how you want to do things, aim between -12 and -18 because, you know, that means that'll be anywhere between there. It'll be the right signal going into any analog emulating plugins. And also it's going to give you a lot of headroom as well. So by the time you've done any processing and you stick a limiter on to bring the overall volume up and then put restream in as the last insert, you're not going to be clipping, okay? And you can leave the fader at Unity at 0 and there'll be no issues. If you're using the plugin as a pre-fader insert, then what happens is when you adjust the volume of the fader, it's actually effectively becoming a trim. So it's adjusting the signal that's going into the plugin. So there we go. Who would have thought we'd all be crawling over to the enemy to get this plugin? I'm only joking. The Reaper is a great DAW. Please don't have any flame wars down below. It's all a matter of personal preference at the end of the day. And having said that, go over to Philip's YouTube, subscribe to his channel and give him a thumbs up just to thank him for providing us this wonderful information. And I'll see you all in the next video.